up, Woodlanders? Welcome back. This week we've got charcoal making, so loads going on this week. Charcoal wise, it's charcoaling season really, so I can get ahead. We've got a big order coming, quite an unusual one, which I might be able to explain more about when I get more details, but at the moment it's a little bit mysterious in a way. It's charcoal for an unusual use, that's all I can say at the minute. I'm going to light a fire and I'll bring you along. It's one of my only gripes with this. It can be a devil to start. Just got loaded up some logs for my sister. She helped us with the windows a couple of months back. So I said I'd gift her some logs for doing that, so we'll go and load them up for it. The Hookway style retort is finished. One was gassing. I knew because I wasn't on it like I normally am. Normally I monitor this a lot more. I was trying to get all the jobs done at the same time, which I'll explain in a minute. The temperature has dropped down to 350, which usually a sign that the gassing is finished. We've been busy over here, so we've managed to get everything off the floor around here, which is awesome because it's been bugging me, into baskets. I've got some pallet tines that are slip underneath here on the tractor. Lift them up. These baskets will go over to this area over here where the pallets are. I want it more of a wildflower area rather than just a bit of a dog's dinner of dumping ground. This used to be the old work zone where I used to make all my panels. Only because I've got my little round wood pole barn now, I don't have to work out in the wet anymore. So all this area I can stack, and I can just keep edging up here, up towards this bit up here, and have the logs up here. My old retort, the Hookway, has kind of self-destructed. I'll have to get the grinder to some of that, but I think I'm going to oof that out of there. Have a bit of a tidy up here. We were sitting having lunch in the sun. More long-range plans of more hazel in. If there was ever an opportunity to have a small timber framed house up here, I'm kind of coming round to that, because there's more of a need for me to be up here even more long term. What was when we only ever started up here is like half a day a week. I'm up here almost every day, to the point where it's becoming like the main base for work, whereas at the moment I'm limited by distance and travel. So I just roll these little ideas around in my mind. Let me know what you think. To be off-grid, sustainable, more permaculture. I know these are kind of like trendy words, but to actually live that way has been my goal for years. And you're so dependent upon others. It'd be nice to be more self-sufficient. But as you get older, you realise you haven't got the physicality to always do that. So that's the trade-off, isn't it? Is what you can do physically and what you can do financially. And yeah, and I don't want to go into debt again. So maybe it won't ever happen. Anyway, thanks for that little listen. I'm going to carry on with my day. So just had a quick check of the temperature. We're on about 350, I think. It's still gassing because we've still got plumes of gas tubes coming out of the retort, so even though the temperature's not that high, it's still gassing. In the meantime, I've got to go and get my drills, and I'm going to drill and convert another 2 blue barrels, so that I've got 2 that I can fill and 2 that I can do, because I can sort of do 2 in a day. That means that this wood here that I've got stacked this morning, that can go in those drums ready and get the lid sealed already. We can put the hooks in as well for lifting out. That's these lifting eyes. So this is a bit of an experiment to see whether I can roll it up. Now I managed it the other day, but of course the retort wasn't lit. Anyway, watch me struggle. Well, I don't know about you, but that was relatively painless, wasn't it? It was actually a lot easier than trying to do it with the pole. So it's just a couple of planks of wood on the So if I cut them bolts a bit lower, what it does is the bolts stop the barrel from rolling about when it's inside. So if I cut those bolts a bit lower, it will save, I can probably roll it over the top of the bolts without it rolling back out on me. But what I found was, if I have the holes drilled upwards on this little ramp, well, by the time I've rolled it in, those holes are at the bottom, which is, well, I'm not impressed with that. Right, let's do our barrel next. We'll get these drilled. In Bo Dobson's design, it's simply a case of cooking the wood inside the barrels, which is this inner chamber. You load this up with the final product that you want to charcoal. The charge wood at the bottom, which is what you get the fire hot with, that gets the barrel hot, and then eventually what happens is all the gases get released out of the timber, which are flammable. They're volatile, flammable gases. They get released under pressure out of all these holes at the bottom. So what they do is those holes at the bottom fire that gas out at the bottom into that bottom charge chamber area that keeps the fire going. So they ignite, keeps the fire going. That's why that worked. To watch the temperature, because it can get really out of control. So you have to starve it at quite a bit of oxygen so that the charge comes out, it ignites, but it just keeps the temperature nice and stable at around 500 to 550 degrees Celsius. And that's basically, you just cook the wood. So it's near enough into that. You know, when I was talking to you, did you see what I did with the drill bit? A place for everything, and everything in its place, is a good motto to have if you choose to live by it. We found it. Unbelievable. Now this is the tricky one. Got to climb in the barrel, which could be entertaining. It's fairly painless, wasn't it, that? So lo and behold, we have an Arctic truck. When the road says closed, he saw the road closed signs and thought, oh, it's not closed for me. Look at it. This will be interesting. Will it go in the ditch? In the rush, I managed to reverse straight into my gate post, which wasn't cricket, so I don't know if I've done any damage to my trailer. But no, I think we're all right. Has he got down there? Yes, he has, just about. If it had been any more greasy than that, he'd have gone straight in that ditch. So day 2 of this week of the charcoal burns. The Hookway did okay. We only got 5 boxes out of that this time. The second barrel we've pulled out, which was the one I left in overnight, which you would think would actually catch fire, it doesn't. That one had fully converted, got that out, we got 6.5 boxes out of that one. Out of our 100 box order, we have probably got about 16, I think, so far. Plus Heartwood also make charcoal for us, and although they've not committed for what they can actually do, they always support us and we work together. I'm just waiting for that charcoal to cook, which is kind of a handy one with charcoal. If you can time it right, you can do all the little jobs at the same time. And I've got these larch poles. These are larch that have died. I think they died because they're wet. I dragged them up on the tractor, and they're that dry, it's very difficult to strip them. But I've got a barking spade, you see. So I'm going to give it a whirl with this. Shall we give it a whirl? You hang on there a second while I do all the hard work. Not too bad actually, because I think it's died. The bark has started to lift off. If you don't strip the bark when you get chance, if you leave it too long, then you get larch wasp. They call it a wood wasp. It looks a bit fierce, but they don't sting you. They just bore holes in your wood, lay their eggs. The grubs hatch out inside your timber and then eat their way out and leave some pretty big holes on the way out. Now some say it's not structural because it's not like woodworm where they wiggle them all over your wood and just basically destroy it. Wood wasps apparently just bore their way out. And usually once you strip the bark and it starts to dry out and really dry out and go hard, the larch wasp doesn't seem to be much interested in them then. And I also have a struggle with something called tryphobia. It does give me the heebie-jeebies. Is anything with holes in freaks me out. That was a long wood wasp story, but you might have learnt something new. I'm not that keen on stripping bark. I enjoy the process when it's done. It is a back break. No, that wasn't too bad, was it? A few minutes, you see. Well, I have plans for all of these. More on that in another video, because if I say too much, I'll end up committing to having to do it because I've told you about it. And then if I don't do it, you'll be on my back saying, what happened to that project? And I'll end up like Wrangler Star. Oh, he were a devil for that. Nice fella, great YouTube channel. But man, he'd start a project and he'd never ever finish him off, and folks used to go nuts at him. So we've had a really good afternoon. Just shut the charcoal burner down so that'll be ready for tomorrow now. Managed to get the twisted larch peeled. Done that one. It's quite a nice pole actually, that, isn't it? It's really nice and straight. Look at that. Morning. So this morning we're back in Rosseston Woodland. So the Heartwood team came in last Monday and did a cracking job, but didn't quite get finished, and they were going to come back this Monday, so a couple of days ago. Only for one thing or another, they couldn't quite get the group big enough to make it viable, so they couldn't make it back, and it looks like they couldn't make it back for the rest of this winter season. So Jeff says, don't worry, he says, I'll do it. Anyway, he's been in, and wow, I've just noticed we've got 2 spots behind me, look. But he's been in and everything's been thinned out and pretty well extracted. Looks like there's about another half a day's work or a day's work to finish off, which is superb. Jeff's done a cracking job of getting it all finished. Anyway, they made this morning, I got distracted then with what I made to collect the beam poles. I want to get all the beam poles extracted this morning. There was a point then when I didn't think I'd get all that on. It's a bit of a squeeze, that is. Anyway, we're on and we're all strapped down. Hold on tight. That's all the beam poles extracted. So what we've got left here is all of the weaving rods to extract yet, and then there's some craft poles to extract, and I think that's about it. But we've got several loads yet. I reckon it's probably another 3 or 4 loads yet. A bit wet today. Unloaded the beam poles. I've got this trailer full of logs to go out ready for Friday, but I'm going to load them up now, because if this ground gets much wetter then I won't actually be able to get the van out. So that's the next job. Good job I got a waterproof camera, isn't it? That's them done. Retorts are going. Oh, I can see flames, so that's a good sign. Right, I'm going to see if I can get this out, and then it's lunchtime. The way like the Heath Robinson tin sheets, trying to keep the worst of the weather off. So we're still going. The only thing with the Hookway, sorry about all the wobbly cameras, is before it's gassing, you cannot really leave it unattended. Oh yes, we've got gas. Look, you came just in time. About had your eyebrows off then, didn't it? Feel warm. My tin roof, it runs and drips there, drips onto the chimney, and then it's all puddling on the top. And I thought, what's going to happen? It's going to start pouring into the inside chamber and getting all the insulation wet, which drops the temperature. So I've had to put a bit of a plank up to get the water to run down here and just to drip away from the retort. I think I'm going to call it a day today. About 3:30. And ideally I would have stayed till that one was gassing for that. When I come to finish it off anyway, at least I know that it's had probably 2 hours. Then sometimes you can start the fire within 20 minutes, half an hour, it's gassing again. The other retort, the Hookway, that looks like that's just about finished gassing. For a jacket on, I think. It's absolutely smashed it there. There you go. Morning all. Look at the fog. You wait there a second. It's a bit cold on the Donnies this morning. Ooh, my poor little hands. It's about +2 degrees, I think. Of course, them rods are the best part, nearly froze up here. Off we go. I thought I'd stop here and show you this. I spotted it on the way up. one of those things in the countryside that you're always plagued with. And this isn't our stretch of woodland, but I know the farmer it belongs to, and you get this kindly donated to you. I don't know whether they think we're the charity shop. Managed to drag this into here. Why they think hiding it behind the bramble makes it more feasible and more viable, I don't know. Unbelievable what some folks do. Just got 6 full boxes out of the retort. So I've got the dragon going already this morning. Can you keep an eye on that for us? Thanks. Right, should we go for a reveal? You've not had one of these before, have you? I don't think. This is some clay from my sister's house. She had some building work done in Leicester. Her daughter's place. They built on the side of that for a little granny annex. I don't know if she still watches my videos, but she'll laugh if she hears that. Oh, dear me. That come from nowhere. The hookway is done. That one's just finished gassing and that one's gone out. Just been watching a guy on YouTube called Chris Harbour, and he built a cob and cordwood house in the woods in Wales. Fair play to him, he's built an incredible place. It's only small. It's for that reason I just love YouTube for that. It's absolutely brilliant. I'd rather watch that than anything else. At the moment I've watched up to the point where he's just about finished the cordwood walls. Just been sorting out a walking stick order. I don't sell many, but it's just nice. He wanted 20, which is not a bad little order really. This reminds me of when I used to go with my dad years ago, and he used to putty the windows. He used to get some putty in his hand, linseed oil putty, and just smear it in with a thing, and I used to watch him and try to do it. And he used to be able to putty a window up ever so quick. And then get his putty knife then and smooth around and make a nice chamfered edge to the putty line. And that was all ready then for some linseed oil paints. Of course all that's changed. That's 3 barrels already. So beam poles are in. Those other ones are weaving rods. There's somebody come in, they want to do their own panels. It was a bit of a last minute panic order. I'm going to nip over to Colville, over to Lount, back home, and then I think it's tea time. Thanks ever so much for watching the charcoal series this week. That's all folks. See you next week.